It's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Today our friend Davonito sends in this question. Mr. Dewey, I have a morality question. Let's see where this goes. First, the story the question is about. Today I was rolling, grappling no-gi with this beginner, who I guess was around 16 or 17 years old, so a little younger than me. I usually go pretty light and focus on nice sweeps, etc., so I let him work a little. Immediately, he went for a headlock and slammed me with all his force. He ended up in bottom side mount, with his arms still locked around my head. He was quite powerful, and it didn't really feel like he was going to let go on his own, so I decided to go hard as well and forced my way back to mount. I started digging my hands under his chin, the not very nice person way. I'm editing out some profanity here. My kids watch this channel, by the way, and I just don't use profanity, so there we go. The not very nice person way. Not to be a not very nice person, but to show that I too can go hard, and neither of us would really learn if we just brute forced our way into neck cranks. For example, we will get through this question. I'll stutter through it, but we will get through it. I got the tap, and after the bell rung, I saw some tears around his eyes, and immediately I felt bad. To be fair, I did talk to him after training, and explained to him what I was trying to accomplish. I also told him that it wasn't a personal thing, but that he shouldn't use all of his power to focus on one headlock, that ultimately doesn't do anything for him, and that he should try to let go and work for escapes instead. Yet I still feel bad about the tears afterward. Am I in the wrong? Sorry for the long story. The first thing your question makes me think of is a story of my own. When I was a young coach, opened up my first gym back in the United States. Very first time, I had this really big, strong guy come into the gym to train with me, and he didn't have really any technical working knowledge of grappling, but he loved to grapple, and he was multiple times my size, and quite a bit stronger. I mean, multiple times larger. That's not an exaggeration. And this big dude gets on top, and he starts squeezing my head, and I was thinking, this sucks, and I should probably tap out to this because I'm going to get injured. But this isn't a real submission. So I didn't tap. And I managed to work my way out and try to be all technical. Again, fighting a guy twice my size, more than twice my size, and multiple times stronger than me. And the next day, everything hurt, and I couldn't move my neck right, and I couldn't really train with my guys the way I wanted to. Look at what I sacrificed for that little moment of pride, like, I need to teach you a lesson that this is the right way, and you're using too much strength, and blah, 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 all this stuff that martial arts instructors always tell you. And we're projecting this pride, this ego onto the other person, when it's often more valuable to look to the inside and recognize what the real issue is. A couple weeks ago, I was rolling with my friend Jordan Chow, and he's one of my favorite training partners. Super nice guy, really technical grappler. And we're rolling, and I get a north-south position, and he starts working for, I'm not sure what, but it's putting a tremendous amount of pressure on my face right about here, and it starts crushing my eyeballs. And I start thinking, well, I can work my way around here. I know this is not technically supposed to be a submission, but he's putting a lot of pressure on, and it's crushing my eyeballs, and I only have one working eyeball at this point, so it's probably a good idea that I don't end up blind. So, completely blind. So I tapped out. And Jordan was kind of surprised I tapped out, like, oh, I didn't even do the thing yet, and you tapped out. I was like, well, it was crushing my eyes, like, ouch, that kind of hurt. He's like, oh, I didn't know. I was like, well, that's what you do, man. That's what you do when you're facing injury. Now, if that was a fight, if there's money on the line, if there's a title on the line, then my pride is also on the line. I'm going to find a way to work through that goofy position, maybe take an injury and, yeah, nurse that injury after the fight while I'm counting my money. But in the gym, in the learning process, it's important that you learn as well as the other guy. Now, here's another thing about those brand new white belts, those newbies. They're dangerous. They're some of the most dangerous people you will have there. It's like rolling with a wild animal that wants to kill you. And without knowing any better, with the best of intentions, they will attempt to murder you. They will do all the illegal things. They will try to kick you in the groin, gouge out your eyes, bite you, scratch you, claw you. And it's not personal, it's just a base animal instinctive reaction to danger. And they will grab your head and they will squeeze it as hard as they possibly can. And it's not to be a not very nice person, it is one of our instinctive defense mechanisms. One of our flinch reflexes. The first one, move out of the way of the danger. Move away from the danger. And if we can't, push the danger away. And if we can't, grab that danger and hold it really tight so it can't move and hurt us. Usually the head. And so a headlock, it's very, very common for beginners to grab the head and squeeze it as hard as they possibly can. They're following their instincts. And it's actually a pretty decent survival mechanism that has kept humans alive on this planet for this long. When the danger comes up that close, grab it and squeeze it and hold it and take away all the space so they can't counterattack, at least not efficiently. And if they do, they're going to waste a lot of energy. Is it the best plan? No, not even a little bit. But when you don't know anything else, it's about as good as you're going to get. Now, this guy was crying, and that's interesting. That's interesting that instead of going over and bullying him like, you're in a combat sports gym and you're crying about it, suck it up, buttercup. Because I know a lot of guys who would do that. Instead, you're feeling some compassion. Like, man, did I do something wrong? This clearly hurt his feelings. Like he's squeezing on you. Maybe he's feeling like he's winning. I don't know. And you're like, I'm going to put this guy in his place. I'm going to do something really uncomfortable here to get him to let go so I can teach him something about position. So I can teach him something about technique. And we can have this little chat afterward. And you have the chat. And you still see the tears. What went wrong? We assume that when we see tears, there's something wrong, right? Many years ago, one of my nieces, when she was a little girl, she was growing up without her father. And she got old enough to realize it. That she was growing up without a father, and that sucks. And she began to bawl, just to cry. And I sat down and had a little talk with her. And I told her about how I grew up without a father. And she looked up at me like, really? You too? Like there's someone else in this world who understands this? And my brother popped his head in the room and saw my niece crying and said, don't cry, don't cry. Tried to stop her from crying because that's her instinct, stop the tears. And I shut that down quick. I was like, no. We need to cry about this. This is important. We need to process this. Don't shut them down and look the other way. Process it. Understand it. Feel it. This is important. Let her cry. Let her understand what a father means. Let her understand what loss of that meaningful thing means. Let her understand what commiserating and empathizing with another human being who has experienced the same thing means. Have you ever cried before, my friend? Have you ever thought you were doing the right thing And then just had it been shut down painfully in your face to the point where you just wanted to cry about it. And those tears came out. I don't cry very often. I don't. There's a picture I have with a tear rolling down my face. And it's not because I'm some big tough guy that I don't cry. It's just I don't. It's just very difficult for me to do. I know some people, tears will just roll down their eyes for almost no reason. And I'm the polar opposite of that. And I really wish that I could. I really wish that I could process that emotion much more easily than I can. But this picture with this single tear rolling down my eye, my wife took it. I was in a hospital. It was after I got my skull cracked open in my last professional fight, the one that put me into retirement, when my skull was broken and I was blinded in one eye. And every doctor I talked to said, "You will never fight again, man. Forget about it. You're done." Ouch. It hurt. That hurt. That big old hole, that crack upside my skull, that hurt. But there was this pain, this idea, this life I had invested so much into. These hopes and these dreams that I had, my very method of making a living. You take that away from a man, what does he have, right? You take away a man's way to provide. By the sweat of his face he shall eat his bread all the days of his life. You take that away, what does he have? That's painful, man. And so I'm lying in this hospital bed, broken physically, broken emotionally, just broken in all these ways. And without noticing it, a tear rolls down my eye. And I don't notice this. My wife notices this and takes a picture and shows me, like, I had no idea this was happening. So I took a moment to process it. I thought about that. I thought about that for years. I still think about that. I still process this constantly. The last time I cried, and what it meant. So you feel like you've done something wrong because there's a tear there. Go explore that for a minute. And that's a different thing than justifying your actions. Well, this is why I did the thing that seemed kind of mean, and I was trying to show you some technique and teach you some better jiu-jitsu and allow you some opportunities to get past the head-squeezing newbie phase, and that's all well and good. But if you want to understand the morality of this whole question, understand why the tears are being spilt in the first place. Manly men always talk about blood, sweat, and tears, right? We built this out of blood, sweat, and tears because we're men. And we focus a little too much on the blood and the sweat and forget about the tears part. Go look into that. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.